Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite a good lead on to the main feature of the show.
The final part, which is obviously Phil Shulman talking about his time in Gentle Giant.
Yep, part 3, the final segment.
Yep.
So
should we go for it from there?
Let's go for it.
Okay.
Okay, enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. And over to you, Dad.
We were thinking we weren't going to leave music or anything like that.
Okay.
We just wanted to do something of our own, something different. And it was at the time when other people were thinking the same things. I can't say we were the first or anything. King Crimson had produced a brilliant record. We obviously knew about...
Was that called The Crimson King, was it? Also?
In the Court of the Crimson King, with Robert Fripp, who we had known from a band called the League of Gentlemen from Bournemouth. Yeah. We played at the club that they were often at as well previously, but they were people we knew who were doing things, and we thought, Christ, we like to do something of our own. Not what they were doing, but what we wanted to do.
So were you kind of like, you were seeing what was going on? I mean, were you aware of people like, obviously, Zappa had come onto the
Absolutely,
scene?
and that was another band that influenced a great deal. We saw the wry humour in the music he was playing, and there was a lot of that, believe me, folks.
And even the Beatles were experimenting.
The Beatles had influenced everybody else. They had actually shown people this can be done. Yeah. You can do your own thing. Yeah. I mean, whether you liked their own thing, it didn't matter. They did their own thing, whether you liked it or not. And we wanted to do our own thing as well. Yeah. And by then we were with an agency called Jerry Bron, a big agent who'd also got a record label called Vertigo. And Jerry had liked us. He'd taken us up as Simon Dupree. And when we told him that was it, Jerry, we're not gonna. He said, okay. He said, I'll sponsor you for at least 6 months to get your own band together, the new band you want, get your own music together, find musicians you want, and we'll see what comes out of it. And from different play, we kept Martin. Martin was a good little drummer. No argument, he could play. But Geary had to go. The keyboard player, Eric, had to go. We got a keyboard player through a friend of a friend, Carrie Mania, who'd come out of the Royal Academy the very year 69. Yeah, 69. He'd come out early in 69. Had finished up living in a squat almost in Clapham, but through a mutual friend, we found Carrie, brought him down to Pompey. He lived with us in our house in Thurburn Road for a little while. He was a definite. No argument. He played just about bloody everything, and well. Yeah. Not just well, superbly. He was a keyboard come everything. Kerry was definitely there. A guitar player, we tried so many people, and eventually we got this kid from North London called Gary Green. Most unlikely for what we wanted to do, but if you heard him play the blues and how quick he was on the uptake, I forget the number we did with him, but I know that Gary, we said, can you pick up the tempo? Yeah. Can you pick up the chords? And Gary's brother was with him, Jeff, who's a fairly well-known guitarist as well. I was
going to say, he comes from... Jeff's a very good guitarist.
Jeff's a good guitar player. And he said to Gary, look, just go on, watch what they're doing, and just try your arse to fit in your chords or whatever. And Gary was quick. He was quick in uptake. Yeah. So he's more or less certainly in as well. And then it was drummer. Martin, I've told you. Yeah. And Jerry let us rehearse for approximately 6 months. It was in Pompey.
Sponsoring you. Yeah,
sponsors. Gary had come down from London. Yeah. He was living with Martin in Southampton. Kerry was living with me, and we rehearsed. I think not just rehearsing, he was actually writing material at the same time. Yeah. We more or less had to get down to it and do something. And eventually we made our first album, which was just called Gentle Giant. Eponymous album, obviously.
Obviously, a completely different process to Simon Dupree.
It was, because it contained. We were, if you like, allowed ourselves our own tastes, which were jazzy. It's a hateful word to use, classical, but little elements of things we enjoyed doing, and instruments which we'd put down because pop/rock didn't want those particular things. It just wasn't in. But for us, they were important to use as many different things as you can. Yeah. And when we brought it down, we had people who in the band between us, I think we could play something like 20 odd, 30 instruments.
Sure.
I mean, I eventually by then learnt a bit more about saxophones. I played the alto, I played the tenor, could play a bit of baritone. I played a thing called a mellophone. It was on daytime, nighttime, one of our other Simon Dupree things.
Nice
mellophone, horn. It was like a French horn, only right-handed.
Yeah.
And Carrie played everything: keyboards, vibraphone, xylophone, drums, cello, in an angel's voice. The trouble with that is a bit too angelic at times, but he still sung incredibly in tune.
Studio,
brilliant in tune singer, which made the band a four singing band. Four people could actually vocalise, and we got back to something which we really had wanted to do. It was not to give any one member of the band the kudos of being the leader, as it were. It was a
band.
It was a band.
Yeah.
And we all sung lead at one time or other. We all backed each other up, and we all played as much as we possibly could, as well as we could. Okay.
Yeah.
That was, and the first album came out, and the album got a lot of success actually in many ways. It was taken up by a lot of people, and on it went basically.
So, Gentle Giant. I mean, I think it's often overlooked is your writing.
Oh yeah,
influence.
Because
I mean, Simon Dupree that didn't really write any of their, well, certainly didn't write any of the hits.
No.
So you start writing. From your point of view, I mean, the music was very much taken care of, wasn't it? But even though you had ideas on music, it was taken care of by, say, like Carrie, Ray. But you were really the main kind of force behind.
Well, the biggest thing was I was probably the only member of the band who actually had read, I'll call it a fair cross section of what you should read if you want to become a teacher of English, right? My background reading had been everything and anything, and a lot of it lent itself to ideas which I suppose internally are translated into music.
Yeah, well, I think that's what I'm trying to say is that obviously me knowing you and having looked at the lyrics, and and my kids can see it, it's evident in the lyrics that you are behind stuff.
What we were doing.
I mean, from lyrical content point of view, and also some of the ideas. So
some of them, I must be honest with you, make you blush afterwards, because you think, oh Christ, what did I say that? What did I do that for? Yeah. But that's life, you've got to live by your mistakes as well. But in general terms, it was the first album, second album, I'd say first, second, not Three Friends, that was much more, not from books, it was more experience.
Yeah.
And the fourth album was more, I suppose, also a bit more a bit more empirical as well, more by experience as well. But the first two albums were definitely what I'd call literary based things, from things which I'd read and wanted to make music about. And my brothers and Carrie were only too willing to experiment along those literary lines, try to create music which, if you like, enhanced the lines, which incorporated the lines, which
it was just
a fusion.
It wasn't, because it's a lot of the bands around that time. If you think of, like, say early Genesis, Yes, King Crimson, those types of bands who are all horribly kind of boxed into a progressive or prog rock.
They didn't. In fairness to those bands, be honest.
Sure, I mean, it's not them.
They didn't call themselves that.
Yeah.
They didn't call themselves that. Other people called them that.
Yeah. But there was a lot of that kind of lyrical content, wasn't there? Mysticism and things like that.
Yeah, but I wasn't particularly into that mysticism.
I'm not saying you.
I was much more into kind of just an idea, a story, a thought.
Yeah.
A little thing could trigger. A little thought. For instance, I think I'd done these things. You must have, anybody who'd been out on the piss or done it, I must have walked home through Pompey, for instance, about 3 a.m. Isn't it quiet and cold?
Yeah.
I mean, funny ways. You must have had an experience with somebody who might have been with who thought you were a nutter or something. So funny ways.
Well, should we do that? Let's do it like any songs from Gentle Giant.
Who's knocking the door, by the way?
That's Joel, by the sounds of it. Should Should we let him see what he's got to say?
Yeah,
it's all right. It's my youngest child that's knocking on our door.
Yeah. This is brilliant, by the way.
So,
it's just me talking.
We've got about 4-5 podcasts here.
What's up? Yeah, that's what I was thinking of separating.
Yeah, we've got about
Chapter
4 or 5.
1,
Yeah, we'll talk about
a biography.
So if we just have a little bit about Gentle Giant here.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, you're talking about like the song. Should we have a little quick fire, what it's about, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Because you were just mentioning there, you said Funny Ways is about, you know, there's a relationship, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. It wasn't mine, it was Carrie's.
Yeah.
And he had come along, actually that song was in his...
Yeah.
That particular song, he brought along a couple of songs, in fact, from previous things he had written. One was Funny Ways, and the other one was Nothing at All. Was Nothing at All. But both of them, what I'd call, were much more...
Yeah, sorry about that.
That?
God, it's trying to shut the door,
Yeah, but those two songs were much more conformist than they were just nice little sweet pop songs.
Yeah.
Until I would sit down with Carrie and discuss them and say, what more can we make of them? Let's make an absurdity, for instance, of Nothing at All. And Nothing at All had elements of genuine madness in it, actually, because I know that Carrie had wanted to explore also things like in the middle of Nothing at All, when it breaks into the drum sequence and Carrie playing what sounds like crazy piano. First of all, he played Liebestraum, as you probably know, a Beethoven thing, and then he went into something which I only fairly recently found out, and I mean fairly recently, some passages of Hindemith, who I've now grown to absolutely love. I mean, incredibly groovy classical composer, you know, beginning of the 20th century stuff. And Carrie was obviously aware of that, but it was a way of getting some of the things out of himself, which he had stored up from college, and how he could use it. And of course, the actual drum passage, which included Carrie, Ray, Martin, all playing drums together, which incidentally became a big feature of the stage act. Yeah. When nearly all the members of the band were playing on stage, some drum or other. Yeah. The very nature of drums themselves, we forget about the actual thing, the instrument, but let's face it, folks, rock music, jazz music, contemporary music would be bugger all without rhythm, you know? Yeah. And the drums we thought were as important as anything. And to be featured as much as we possibly could often. Yeah. Those were only 2 songs, but the rest of that, Gentle Giant was fairly obvious. I think it's straightforward jazz riffs in that. Yeah. How we wanted to play it, how it wanted to be seen, but it should also turn into something else. If you listen to it, it goes into something else. You know, other kinds of music. What other of the first album? I'm trying to think what other songs there are. Isn't It Quiet and Cold? I've explained. Funny Ways I've explained. The actual thing, Giant itself. Yeah. Can you remember the other?
Well,
Nothing at All. I've just told you.
Nothing at All goes on to Why Not?
Yeah, Why Not, which is very basic rock sort of thing, actually, which gave notice that we weren't going to throw that out the door. We still could play and wanted to play 4/4 rock. Yeah. You know.
Of course, the Queen.
Along with it, the Queen. Well before anybody else wanted to do it, it was just occurred to us, why not? Yeah. We'll do it in our own farty way. Yeah. It wasn't as a compliment, folks. Yeah. It was just almost wry, tongue in cheek. Yeah. You know, let's finish off with something. What do you usually end the show with? I know. They all stand up to the Queen. Sure. You know, that was a bit of a very poor wry humour, I suppose. You know. But the second album that I was involved in acquiring the taste was a little bit more introspective, I think, actually. Yeah. Observing conditions and less literary, probably. Although a couple of them are literary in that, as an ex-art teacher, I got quite an art book collection, and I'd go through them every so often just to look at pictures and admire what was in them. And The Moon is Down is a particular thing which gives you some conclusion, particularly of surrealist art. And it's a kind of surreal stroke, mystical quality about, that one as well. Sorry. Anyway, go on, that's acquiring the taste. 3 friends, me and 2 mates, if you want. I was just going for the 4 albums I was on.
Yeah, sure.
They were about mates who I'd had it all the way, not through school essentially, but my from my childhood when I came down to Pompey, I had mates who had gone in different directions, and you think you're going to be friends forever, you're not. We all go our different ways, and that was basically what it was about.
Yeah.
Very simple. We go our different ways, and in the end, because of the ways and the paths you've chosen, it really is hard eventually to get together again. You've just done different things. You don't want to know really what other people are doing. Yeah. And Octopus started off, and that's the one album I think which has been the most popular of Gentle Giant's 11 or 12. I think.
Yeah. And that's where you brought John Weathers in.
We brought John Weathers in from the Grease band.
Yeah.
He played with Graham Bond, he'd played with The Eyes of Blue, he had played with Man, and he eventually returned to Man, believe it or not, John, and played for years afterwards with them. Good groovy Welsh band, actually. Yeah. Really.
He was a fantastic drummer, though.
Superb metronome, with real taste. He knew just... but John, he's quite funny. If you look over at his blog or whatever, he'll tell you how he got by. Which was quite funny. He said, just listen and play ones. Just play ones. Don't think about what tempo it's in. Just play ones. Yeah. John was just marvellous on that album.
Yeah. But it changed the band, didn't it? Really.
Yeah, it gave us a different perspective. Actually, it's amazing. What I said, drums are the ultimate instrument in any beat band. You know.
Of course, you should mention that in the interim, you had a guy called Malcolm Morton.
Yeah, Malcolm could play, but unfortunately, he was nuts. That's all. You know. He was young. He was a kid, and he had bought himself a bloody huge motorbike because he'd got a gig, and the daft sod broke his arm, and he caused me a real headache. You know, I made him play actually, believe it or not, with a broken arm, which is no easy thing. You know, but eventually he just couldn't go on, and we had to find a drummer quick because we had a full book and album to record. You know,
so you did Gentle Giant. Acquiring the Taste.
Yeah, Three Friends.
Say it with me, Els. This is yours. Three Friends, Octopus.
That was me. That was the decision making. Well, honestly, decision making time. Growing up, family.
Yeah.
2 sons, lovely little daughter.
Yeah.
Right. At school, had things to do. A wife who was getting lonelier and lonelier. Decision. No decision really. It was a foregone conclusion. Yeah. My brothers. In fact, quite frankly, wouldn't speak to me for years afterwards because I said, that's it, I'm going. I've got to go back to my family, and I've got to go back and be what I call, in inverted commas, again, folks, sorry about the inverted commas, a normal man. Yeah. And I went back to teaching.
I mean,
you did the right thing. You did the right thing.
I think I did.
Well, of course you did do the right thing.
Just look around me, my lovely grandchildren. Yeah. And they give me more than any band or any music could give me, I can assure you. I mean, my kids.
To be honest, from my point of view, I mean, I can't remember a lot of it. I was extremely young. I was preschool, but it's the right decision, obviously. But I mean, surely they understood, or didn't they understand your decision?
No, they didn't. My brothers thought.
I don't want to create any sort of
I'm not saying how important or not important I was to the group or anything like that, but my brother thought that was the end of the band. Right. That's absurd. When 5, 6 of the band are still there, I go, no trouble. Yeah. And they did. They carried on. They carried on for 7 more years, folks. And that was touring the world and getting great acclaim as well. Yeah. As
of course they went on,
a very fine 5-piece outfit. Yeah. But for me, it was the only thing to do, you know. I must be honest with you. It obviously took something away because I couldn't listen to music for a few years afterwards. I just couldn't honestly listen to music. Yeah. I cut myself off, went back to teaching, and did not the right thing because it's nonsense. That is, sure. I did as far as I'm concerned, no argument thing.
Yeah.
No argument. What comes first? I know what comes first, and here I am now, many years later, reaping the rewards. I've got a lovely, lovely family. My kids, my grandkids. They're just so lovely and so musical, all of them. That's a lovely thing too. Damon with his stuff, and Elliot and Rowan and little Joel and Amy and Sam and Calvin and my daughter Adele. Just fantastic. And of course my in-laws as well. My daughters-in-law, Laurie, my daughter-in-law, Nikki. Just lovely people. Yeah. And that's the bonus. That's the real harvest, folks.
And just to say that everything turned out all right as well with your brothers.
Yeah, in the end, absolutely. They become sort of like almost grown up, you know, because almost because Ray is still very involved, and Derek is involved, but on the business side, with the heavy influence on business folks. But Ray's very much. Well,
Ray helps me out.
Yeah, Ray helps Damon out a lot. He does a lot of remastering and helping him out with various things, and it's lovely. It's a good time. It's a good time of my life.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you are, folks. That's me.
Well, yeah, but I was just going to say. I mean, there is also a connection. I mean, sorry, this is Damon thinking. What do you want to ask something now?
Go on. One more. Any more? Is there any more questions?
I've just got written here.
Go on.
Stuff done with Dad, as in.
No, we had a little band.
You did a little project, didn't you?
Yeah, no, we had a little band, and it wasn't a bad one.
Yeah.
But again, that is something. But yeah, I saw myself taking it in, and said, and it was just old man's vanity. And I thought, this is just silly.
But you weren't actually very old, but yeah.
No, but to me it was.
Yeah.
Considering I was playing with you, a baby.
I was about 15,
exactly.
Yeah.
But there was that, and also, but we've written a couple of things together as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, and not bad things at all. I don't think. I mean, nothing to do with rock music, folks, but to do with other kinds of music, I suppose too.
Well, then about your childhood in Glasgow.
Yes, exactly. Just snippets, little quick reminiscences called Then, and those reminiscences are very, to me, of course, very pertinent. Yeah. It was the making of me, and God knows what. If you look at me, you'll see what happened. You know.
But people have actually downloaded these things, and people are hearing them now.
I know.
Which is kind of nice.
But Damon did a great job of what I thought was almost hard to put to music, but he did a bloody good job of it.
Yeah. But we're gonna do something again, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, it was something. I won't say over the air because it's what is staggering, and this happens time and again to me, is I think of something, and as sure as God. About 6 months afterwards, so did about 40 other people. I mean, this one thing, this project with Damon, it's hard to even tell you, but put it this way, I was watching a programme today when a guy sat down and his eyes popped out of his head. Now, this is not a fucking lie. I've seen this happen, and I thought maybe I, myself and a few other people had seen this happen. Well, I've now seen it on television. Who in God's name?
You see lots of those things there. It doesn't mean like it kills the project.
Well, it nearly killed me. I said, what happens to people? What is wrong with them?
Yeah.
Can't they pick their own minds?
Yeah.
You know, why pick mine?
But we're going to do it anyway. I've written a load of music for it.
Yeah, no, I'm still messing around, but I've got so many other things on at the moment with Mum.
That's the way it goes. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, we're not in no rush.
No rush.
The thing is, you still are creative though, and you're able to be creative.
It is, yeah. But I mean, I tell you what, but I do sort of listen now a lot more to other music, and it's horrifying to admit that I do go back to things like Dem Blues and things like that, because some of the best artists who ever produced music were blues players, you know, terrific players, unbelievable players, and jazz. Some incredible jazz has been played, you know, some wonderful music. Gets right into you.
Do you appreciate sort of like the modern sort of pop scene?
No, I'm not going to be a stupid old man about this and say it's all crap, because a lot of what was in my time was bloody plenty of crap as well, I can assure you.
Yeah.
But the difficulty I have is probably because of my age, identifying the differences in bands, and there was really quite a lot of things. You can actually hear a thing would come on the radio and you say, I know who that is.
Yeah.
I recognise the voice, the type of playing, the kind of rhythm. Nowadays, I can't say I can do that.
Yeah.
But it's probably because I'm not that interested in it. And its interest develops knowledge, really.
I think you're right to a degree.
I don't know if they're good or bad. I can't tell you.
Well, I think you're right from both points of view. There is a certain homogenisation as well, isn't it? I mean, even Elliot and Rowan, who are into their music,
yeah, that happens.
You can't differentiate sometimes, can you?
Sometimes, yeah, I know.
No.
So I mean, it's probably is something in the music these
days. But in film, nothing changes, you know, folks.
But there's good stuff.
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
I like the raconteurs.
Yeah.
Jack White.
Yeah, I know.
Good influences, you know.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, that's basically. I thought I had something else to wrap up with. I mean, basically, all we're saying is people do still remember you, and the reason we're kind of doing this. Sorry, speaking about ourselves. But it's people do write to me, often say, I'll pass on my regards and things like that.
God.
And there's very little we can do. So this is just a chance for people to hear what you've done, and
Okay.
and basically, just sort of give you giving it a little insight, I suppose.
That's fair enough, Damon. But in fact, it's only a synopsis.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not blessed, but I have got a very good memory, and I could go into individual detail if I really had to. But a lot of it is almost unprintable, etc. So it doesn't matter.
But you've told us everything anyway.
You want to know,
Yeah, I know.
Off the mic, we know all the stories. But great, and you're right, they're brilliant. But do you want to close, Els?
Okay.
Say
All
thanks.
Right. Thank you, Grandpa, for a little autobiography about you.
Yeah.
Okay. So from me, it's goodbye. It's from my little brother Joel. Say goodbye, Joel. That's good. From
Rowan.
my brother Rowan.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
From Grandpa, say goodbye.
Oh yeah, well it's only sort of au revoir, folks. I expect I'll
That's
speak again.
good. And from my dad, Damon Shulman, goodbye.
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 See ya.
Together, folks.
Yeah, that was the
Good.
shit.
Bye. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Got enough out of that?
Brilliant.
Okay, so that's it. That was the Phil Shulman interview. I think you'll agree it was interesting and it was fun. We certainly enjoyed it. And that's it. There'll be no more damonshulman.co.uk podcasts for some time. From me and Elliot, it's goodbye, and we've enjoyed it. That's it. Bye.